Hello, welcome to About Regional. My name's Ian Campbell, broadcasting live from beautiful Narooma today. It's chilly outside, but this lounge that Shanna and I are sitting on, it's boiling hot in this little atrium, beautiful in the sunshine. I'm with Shanna Provost. Many of you will know Shanna well. Shanna is the author of the Rest Easy Journal and the lady behind the website dyingwell.com.au. August 8 is Dying to Know Day, and Shanna for a long time has been the face of Dying to Know Day here in southeast New South Wales. Shanna, what's it all about, Dying to Know Day?
Well, the statistics will tell you that people don't like talking about death and dying. It's a taboo subject. So in 2015, an organisation called the Groundswell Project decided that they would have a National Dying to Know Day. So they've been doing that ever since. There is an organisation in the United States that also does National Dying to Know Day on that date. And it's a day where everyone's encouraged to just talk about death and dying.
What are people dying to know? What are the questions that come up around this day?
Well, I would say people would say, can I not die at all, please? That would be the first question. It's really interesting because I've been doing this for so long that some of the questions that I get are quite interesting, or people who say to me, well, I'm not going to die, so I don't need to make any preparations. But really, the questions that people ask are, what do I need to do? What do I do when I die? What happens when I die? And the Rest Easy Journal actually lays that out in very step-by-step, simple terms. If I die at home, these are the steps that you take. If I die in a hospital or a hospice, these are the steps that you take. And it's because, let's face it, the people that love us most are going to be there. They're going to be in their deepest grief at that time. We know that the brain doesn't function properly when we're in grief and under stress. And so to add to that all of the machinations that are required to have a person put away properly, it's such a stressful time. So if they've got a book where they can sit and look and go, oh, I need to do this, I need to get this document. Oh, where did Mum keep that? So that, they're the questions that they ask. What happens when I die? What choices do I have? On the South Coast, interestingly, a lot of questions are, can I be buried on my backyard? My backyard.
In your property, in your farm.
Yeah, that's it. And there are all of those. There are answers to all of those questions. It's just that you can't wait until the last minute or leave that. I know that, for example, people say to me, oh, I'm leaving my body to science. And I say, oh, that's great. Have you registered? Do you have your certificate that says that they'll accept you? And they go, no, the kids can deal with that. Well, the important thing about that aspect is you have to register before you die. There are 54 conditions and diseases that they won't accept. And so that's it needs planning. It requires planning like everything else. So it's changing. When I first started, people just would walk to the other side of the room. If I had a bookstall somewhere, people would toddle off to the other side. But now it's shifting. I think it's because baby boomers, my age, we understand that we have rights and we want to ensure a quality of life for ourselves, and so we are prepared to ask the questions. So it is shifting, and then once it's shifted, people go, okay, what can I have? And especially with advanced care directives, what are my choices? Where can I die at home? Absolutely. All of those things can be answered.
Yep.
But we have to talk about it first, Ian.
This stuff is really important, and people really value being in a position of strength around these times, yet we delay the conversation, we put it off, or we avoid it. Why do we do that when we place so much value on these sorts of decisions?
Well, I blame Louis Pasteur.
Right. Damn Louis, what's he done?
Because before penicillin was discovered, dying was a massive part of living. So grandma, grandpa, the baby, mum or dad or the brother died. They were washed by the family. They were laid out in the front of the sitting room.
Yeah.
They were laid out. People came in, sat down, were there with that, and they weren't afraid of dying. That because it was a natural part of things. The indigenous cultures, of course, have got that right.
Yeah.
But then Louis Pasteur came along and he discovered that there's this thing called penicillin, and maybe people don't have to die from those diseases anymore. This is my theory. This is the theory according to Shanna, right? So then, once they discovered that they could delay those diseases or cure those diseases, then, medical science went, well, maybe we can fix this and do this and do this. And then the hospital became the place to go to die.
Yeah, okay.
And then it was all shrouded, pardon the pun. But, so people weren't talking about it.
And also an industry grew up around death, the funeral industry. It all went back room, didn't it?
Yes, it certainly did. And still today, someone has died at home, and you may have even been expecting that. The first thing people do is get on the phone. And so in my book, I say, when they say, what's the first thing that you do? I go, put the kettle on, make a cup of tea, sit down, gather yourself, ring those closest.
Yep.
Let them come around because legally you're allowed to do that unless it's under suspicious circumstances. And then, of course, you would dial 911 and you would do all of those things. But really, people can take their time. They're allowed to have the body at home for a certain number of hours, and particularly if they've got what's called a cooling plate. On the South Coast, we have a cooling plate that's kept at Nardi House that people can borrow, so that their loved ones can stay at home for a couple of days on this plate to keep it at particular certain degrees. And it's the most wonderful thing to do.
It's interesting because there's almost a sense of emergency around a situation like that. As you say, you pick up the phone, you dial 000, you call the funeral directors, you do stuff like that. But you're suggesting slowing things down just a little bit.
Most definitely.
What are the benefits that come from that? What have you seen from when people slow things down?
There's a greater sense of resolution. If they can wait for people who need to travel in, there's nothing worse than somebody hearing the news. They have to deal with the fact they weren't there when their loved one died. So bringing them in allows them to sit and talk. When my father died, I went to the funeral director and said I'd actually like, because I had to travel up for that, and I said I'd like to actually go and sit and see him before the funeral, and they were wonderful. They said, absolutely, give us 10 minutes, to tidy everything up. But it was a really wonderful thing for me because it didn't look like him, of course, but I was able to express the things that I felt that I needed to say in a private setting, and then I could go away feeling much more resolved. And I think that that's the importance. Think about the people that you're leaving behind, and that's what I talk about with the Rest Easy Journal. I love my family more than my love for my family is more than my fear about talking about death and dying. And so I have to take responsibility for that right now to make it as easy as possible when I go.
It's almost your last gift in a way, your last helping hand.
It is your legacy. It is the last thing, and you don't want people to be thinking about it like, oh my God, the mess, and I couldn't find this, and then the family had a big fight about which songs to have at the... I've seen that. All of those things. You don't want them to remember that. You want them to go, wow, what a wonderful thing Mum did for me.
Tell us about Dying to Know Day here in Narooma, the 8th of August at Club Narooma. You've assembled some great local people to answer some of those questions. Yes,
well, that's it. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm just like everybody else, but I've done some research. And I don't know anything really about the legal aspects to be able to talk with any level of confidence. But John Clark from Clark Law, he's going to be talking about the power of attorney, enduring guardianship, and really importantly, and about wills, of course, but about this binding death benefit that you need. If anyone has superannuation, you need to have this document in place. people don't know that. I
No.
can see that you didn't know that.
Look, I haven't even got a will. Slap me down.
Oh, no, I am going to tie you down. Oh, that sounds terrible, but I am not going to let you leave until you've started your will. But yes, so all of those things, he's going to talk about that. We've got Stephanie Radcliffe, who's a specialist nurse, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she's going to talk about how palliative care, because once again, some people don't want to think about palliative care. They think that means it's the end, and often it is, but it can start way, way out from that point. But how that can really significantly affect the quality of a person's dying. We have Linda Ord, who's a beautiful funeral celebrant, and she's going to talk about how to gather all of your memories and talk to your family now, so that it helps with eulogies and it just helps to have a nice experience. Robert Hewson, talking about the importance of funeral planning, and myself and I'm going to be talking about advanced care directives and, you know, our quality of life and how we get that. But I want to say, I just said talking probably about 5 times. What we're actually going to be doing is listening. It's going to be a round table session where people can sit down and ask questions of. They're not going to be talked at. They're actually going to be able to ask questions, and these experts in the field will be able to answer them to the best of their ability or put them in the right place.
There is something really amazing about a good funeral, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's hard. I've been to both. In fact, I'm a funeral celebrant from time to time, and I've been to celebrations that were just joyous. I went to one last year for a man here who was full of life, vibrant man, always on the dance floor, stoic, you know, died of cancer, absolutely stoic, always cheery, and his funeral was...
Not a reflection of his life by the sound of things.
Let me put it wasn't. And people walked out and everyone was shaking their head because they knew that this person was so not the person who was represented in the funeral.
Yeah.
And I think he would be saddened by that. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just that there wasn't any planning, and his family lived a distance away from where he lived, so he didn't know the local people and, you know, what this person enjoyed here.
Yeah.
You know, it was just so... But yes, I'm running a workshop called What Kind of Funeral Would You Have If You Had No Fear? Because, you know, there are people who get their ashes blasted out into fireworks and orbiting the moon, and, you know, there's all kinds of things that you can do, and it's an expression. Mine's going to be totally orchestrated. I'm having performers and, you know, a little bit of performance theatre and the whole lot, because it'll be a reflection of me. And
Thanks for tuning in. We've been talking death with Shanna Provost, who's the author of the Rest Easy Journal and the lady behind dyingwell.com.au. Dying to Know Day is coming up on the 8th of August. Club Narooma from 10 for a 10:30 start. You're invited to come along and meet with some experts and have your questions answered. Thanks so much for your time, Shanna.
And I just want to say it's a $5 entry fee, and that gives you a most beautiful morning tea. So just so that people are coming there prepared.
Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thanks for tuning in to About Regional. My name's Ian Campbell. We'll talk again soon. Cheers.